But Cuomo, he never really got. People hated him. They've hated him forever. They've hated him. So Cuomo.
Then why'd they vote for him?
Because nobody votes in New York. We didn't know. Now people would know, but like I don't know. I never voted for the governor or the mayor. I mean, Mayor De Blasio in New York. People hate him even more.
Chris doesn't vote.
I don't vote, but I legally can. I'm not a felon, as some of you idiots may think. I'm not a felon.
Just not interested.
That's my father. My father legally can't vote. But
He's a felon?
He's a felon.
For what?
When I was a kid, he served prison time before I was a kid and when I was a kid for loan sharking, racketeering, all like that. He was never in the mafia. I want to state my father was never in the mafia, but
never was cool enough.
Yes, never was cool. His nickname is Tony Balls, but he never was in the mafia. But he played like he was with those guys.
But how do you avoid being in it? And don't you kind of, if you know stuff, you're in?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like my father, the reason why I knew my dad, because at first my dad would always be like, Chris, when I was a kid, like we would have to go visit him in prison. He would always tell me, he'd be like, they got the wrong guy. Like I'm innocent. And I kind of was like, no, you're not. Like, like your nickname is Tony Balls. Like I know your friends. Like my uncles are all like Goomba idiots. But when there was a humongous prison sting that happened in like 2007, 2008, the FBI came and raided and like kind of put the final nail in like the New York Italian mafia coffin. And it was a big thing on the New York Post, front page of the paper, 107 or 105 FBI gangsters rounded up. And there was all their pictures. And I remember looking at that photo on the front page of the New York Post. I was actually in graduate school at the time. And I was like, wow, like 10 of those guys were at my father's barbecue 3 weeks ago. Like he does know them. He was lying to me. He's not innocent.
They were cooking human hands.
Yeah. You know what I got to say though?
What?
When the mafia was there, when I was a kid, we used to go to like the festival in like Howard Beach, and like John Gotti was there.
They know how to put on a party.
Dude, John Gotti would always give the kids cotton candy. Yep. I remember one time this guy was like hitting his girlfriend or his wife. Yeah. These guys beat the shit out of him. Like the neighborhood was safe when the crime was there. Yes, I know that they do bad things, and
I know the cotton candy was laced with PCP. But it's like, you know what I mean?
No, but like I'm telling you, whenever New York was so much safer when the mafia was there. I almost think like
if you weren't a store owner or
listen, you got to pay for protection, but you're protected. Here's the thing: it's like, what do you want? Do you want to be protected, or do you want to get bricks thrown?
And let me ask you a question: the mafia, because I just did that podcast for Wondery that was about Silvio Berlusconi and in Italy, and there's an amazing book called Gomorrah. It's an investigative book by this guy published in 2006, which documents his infiltration and investigation of various areas of business and daily life in Italy in the Italian mafia.
Okay,
and he got. No news outlets would let him promote it.
Sure.
Like Italy just shut down and would not let the book get sold. He couldn't get an apartment all of a sudden. It's like a crazy story of this guy.
Right.
How does the mafia, was it initially conceived as from what I understand, to fill in the gaps that the government, to provide the things the government wasn't providing?
That was the initial, it was kind of like some Robin Hood stuff initially in Sicily. And then like anything else, like even the things that are happening in our country now, there's always an overcorrection. That's just, as human beings, we will always overcorrect. We will always go too far, good or bad, always go too far. So so the mafia, then they started to, go too far. Like they got, when the mafia, the only issue ever is when the mafia started to get into drugs. Yeah. That's like the old school thing. Like that was when you shouldn't have done. That's why John Gotti, when he came in and started allowing drug stuff, that's when a lot of problems start to happen.
It feels like, unlike History Hyenas, it feels like there's no good way for the mafia to be like, should we just call it?
No.
It feels like the mafia can't just stop.
Here's the thing though. I got to be honest, for as much as the mafia, I mean, listen, they do dirtbag stuff.
Do they on the internet? Like, are they texting? Like, how has the mafia not gone down in the day of the internet?
Dude, I'm telling you this, mark my words, because nobody knows who really created it. The mafia created Bitcoin. Clip that.
Love it.
Clip that. I'm telling you, crypto, the mafia created Bitcoin.
Dread Pirate Roberts is an Italian from Queens?
That's who it is. I'm telling you what.
Pilot Roberto?
I'll be honest with you, if with all the stuff like going on, if the mafia was still around, we would all be vaccinated.
Here's what, you know
100%. We would all be getting vaccinated for $200 cash. Yeah. You get Moderna, Pfizer, whatever you want, babe. That's what they say. They'd open it up. You want Johnson & Johnson? That's $250.
But I do. Have you seen this show, Your Honor?
No,
but you gotta watch it.
Is that's with what's his face, Bryan Cranston, right? Yeah.
And there's I know Emily.
Emily's crying.
We were sobbing watching it, but there's this and then Whitey Bulger. I'm obsessed with, and I do think, and Rogan talks about this a lot. Him and I were talking about it, and I don't know who he was talking about it on his podcast the other day. I am so attracted to dangerous men.
Sure.
There's also, it's very tricky because the mafia just, I mean, I'm in love with men. It's so hard to not love men like that.
Dude, that's why I'm here. My mother graduated from Columbia University. She's an Ivy League graduate person, and my father's nickname is Tony Balls.
Dude,
I mean,
I
why
love
do you
it.
think?
I love
what
it.
do you think? It's because my mother wanted a fling with a bad boy, and then she fucked up, and now I'm here. I remember being 17 years old and kind of questioning my mom, like, why did you do this?
Right.
Like, how did you pass every test to get into Columbia, and then you failed the Tony Balls one? Like, my dad could have been Elon Musk or some shit.
No, don't want him. No interest. I want the guy that's killed someone. I remember when I was watching that scene in Black Mass, I don't like to admit this at all.
Yeah.
And when he was choking Juno Temple, I was like, that's my guy.
How about this? And you know what? You know what? I learned so much respect from my father, especially like, you know, in certain situations in my life. I'm like, oh wow, because my dad always had like the right intention but the wrong move.
Mine too.
Because his whole thing was always like, hey, like you need to protect women. Always, that's what it is.
I got an engagement ring for my like 7th birthday that I just wore as a ring.
Oh, yeah.
Like I didn't know where it came from, you know.